Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to a conversation that I'm super excited to have for two reasons. Number one, when I first met Debbie Brosnan from the Effortless Kitchen, I just loved her energy and I loved the way that she showed up. And I loved that she was actively cooking while we were talking. It was very clear that, like, this is part of her world. And I just loved her take on how to make cooking effortless, hence the name of her business, The Effortless Kitchen. But the second reason that I wish that, or that I wanted to bring her in, is that I wish that having someone like her around, 30 some odd years ago might have been a thing to help me and my mom in the kitchen because I am a rotten cook. Thank God for my husband. He is the one who keeps me fed. And, I'm excited to potentially learn some things now, lo these 30 some odd years later. So, Debbie, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to share what I know and to help you and your 30 years prior self and your mom. So,
Absolutely. And hey, for anybody who's tuning in, if you're in our Facebook group or if you're catching us on LinkedIn, if you're catching us live, you can comment. I am watching the comments and I will interject them with Debbie as we go. And if you catch the replay, you can still comment there and I can follow up with Debbie with any questions. So
mhm,
just wanted to, little bit of
yes.
housekeeping there before we got rolling. All right, Debbie, where are we going today?
All right. First of all, I love to share all information about cooking and food. And as you know from when we first talked, I could talk for days and days and days. But we wanted to talk about making healthy cooking easy. And
Mhm.
that sounds impossible to some people, but I'm going to give you some tips today on how to make that work for you. And when I share everything, if you take one thing from it, that's a win, right?
Absolutely.
We're talking about healthy cooking made easy. I am Debbie Brosnan from the Effortless Kitchen, and I will just tell you a little bit about me first before we dig in. So bear with me on these slides. Hopefully, I can get them going. Okay, can hopefully you can see that. That
Yep,
is
got
my
him, got him.
family. All right, who
Hmm.
am I? So I am a mom of three. I have raised these three beautiful children from what you see in the top left corner to the young adults that they are right now. My oldest is 23. She lives in New York City. She's a musical theater performer. My middle is my son, who is a junior in college as a marketing major. You can see that he is there drinking a glass of wine. We love to travel and eat, and that he is on one of my culinary retreats there. And then my
Nice.
youngest just graduated. Well, not just, she's almost done with her freshman year of college. Um, and she's my sports girl and is like the master volunteer person and the most charitable in our family. So I love that about
Nice.
her. And there's my husband, Dan. So we are empty nesters and life has changed. And I'm no longer cooking for five. I am cooking for two. And it is blissful freedom, I have to say. So for those of you cooking for people in your home other than yourself or your partner, I feel you. I know the challenges that brings. I'll just talk a little bit about my business and then we can dig in. So I have many facets of my business. The core of it is the virtual cooking class. The top middle picture that you see there is what you would see in a class with me, where I am cooking in my kitchen, you are cooking in your kitchen, and we are walking through a recipe together. And I do those weekly on Saturdays for groups of people. I also do private classes and corporate classes.
Mhm.
So those are options as well. I am on all sorts of podcasts and speaking engagements because I love to share what I do. Um, I wrote a cookbook. So I felt like I had so much to share, that so much I had taught to my class participants that I wanted to share with everybody. So my cookbook came out in October of 2022. It
Mhm.
is a compilation of about 70 plus recipes of easy, healthy weeknight meals, and meal ideas for you. All in one place. You can find it on Amazon. And if you'd like a signed copy, go through me. I will send one to you.
Love it.
Yes, I mean, that was like all of this. My entire business is a passion project, but like to have
Uh-huh.
all of what I've taught in one place and to
Mhm.
have my tips in there in the beginning on how to like kind of tweak recipes to make them healthy. I've already done that for you, but just kind of what my method is. I just want to share my knowledge.
Mhm.
Like it shouldn't be a secret. Like go and do it
Mhm.
yourself. Like I feel like
Mhm.
the biggest gift is when somebody says, well, I've tried this recipe, I've tried that recipe just from tips that I've shared. Like, I don't expect you to stay with me forever. Like, that's not the point. The point is
Right.
for you to be and go and do it yourself. Um, the last part of my business, everything is fun, but this is the most fun. I take people on food tours of Italy and Spain now. So
Mhm.
I do that twice a year, small groups. Anybody can join, not just specific to gender or lifestyle or whatever. You know, you can be families, solo traveler.
Mhm.
I travel with my son. My husband's coming on the next one. I've done it solo.
Nice.
So amazing cooking adventures and food. I feel like the best way to get to know an area that I'm traveling to is based on their food and their food culture. So that's really what kind of
Absolutely.
excites me and
Well,
lights
and
me up,
food is
obviously.
such a central aspect of pretty much any culture, which is why folks who navigate disordered eating often struggle because, like, even here in America, it's like, oh, let's go get dinner, let's go do something with food, let's have people over for dinner. And I
Mm,
totally get that idea of like being able to use food as a way to get to know the people where you're living or visiting.
yeah, and food is the master like connector. Like connecting around a
Mhm.
meal is kind of
Mhm.
what I learned early on. I'll get into this in the next conversation about helping kids in the kitchen. But
Mhm.
my start was from my mom and my grandma, and helping my mother cook in the kitchen and learning what my grandmother was making in the kitchen, and realizing that it was the shared experience of eating around the table and the joy that that brings to everybody is kind of what like got me excited to cook and learn to cook. And so I am a self-taught home cook. I am not a trained chef, and I don't
Awesome.
think you need to be a trained chef to teach people how to cook. Like I know what
Right.
it feels like to cook in, you know, kitchen. And what I've learned from I've been doing the virtual classes for almost 4 years now. I've really learned like what people are struggling with and how to help
Sure.
them.
Awesome.
So, all right. Well, let's dig into the why we are here. So, um I understand that there are challenges getting food on the table.
Mhm.
And a lot of people are busy, busy with family, busy with work, busy with everything else going on in their lives. And cooking feels like a chore.
Mhm.
So, I have a few tips here on how to kind of get yourself going when you are struggling. So, picking a dish you love and making extra servings that might seem obvious, but if it's not, maybe it's a big kind of casserole, lasagna, whatever it is, or if it's a meal that you're making for four, double it, or one and a half times it, and then you have a little bit extra, which will give you lunch or a quick dinner, if you know kind of when you need those pockets of quick meals.
So let me ask
um
you a quick question.
yeah,
I have heard from an array of families, so and so doesn't eat leftovers.
that is such a foreign concept to me, but I have heard that too. If you have somebody who doesn't eat leftovers, we're gonna have to take that leftover and make it into something a little bit new.
Okay.
So,
Because what I
maybe
was
you
thinking in my brain was like, as you're saying, make double the portion, right? Like make if
mhm,
you're making a lasagna or something like that, right?
yeah,
Make two pans of it, or potentially like two smaller pans. Maybe take the same portion that you were making. If it's
yeah,
meant to serve six and you're serving three, like put it into two Pyrex before you cook it, right? And then freeze
mhm,
one or something like that.
mhm.
That way it's
That
not leftovers. It's just we're making it ahead.
that is also another way to do it. I'm thinking of leftovers, but if you have a picky leftover eater who refuses to eat leftovers, you're gonna have to kind of tweak it into a new dish,
Okay.
and fool that
Just wanted to
person.
ask.
That right? Yeah. No, I hear you. I have heard that before. I am a leftover fanatic. If there's leftovers, I am so excited for lunch. Like it's crazy. So,
I am too.
day after day after day, I get that. right? That gets old. Like sometimes I'll do that and I'll cook for 4 days, and that's something that we'll talk about later on in this. But sometimes by day 4, I'm like, "Oh, okay, I just got to get through this, right?
Right.
Nobody wants to eat the same thing over and over and over again. But
Sure.
these are just like, you know, kind of maybe logical, maybe not, but little tips to try and help out.
Sure.
Um, like, here we go. Choose something that can be used in multiple ways. So you're making the chicken breast or you're making the ground meat. You can prep it one way and use it in more than one dish. I will go over examples of this as well.
Okay.
But something that, you're getting the bulk of it out of the way for on day 1, so that day 2 and day 3, you can make it into a new dish, just to make your life a little bit easier.
Mhm.
Planning is a huge part, and being prepared is a huge part of um, cutting down time that it takes. There's a
Mhm.
lot of mental effort involved in cooking for a lot of people, and the struggle. I actually almost called my business "What's for Dinner" because like that is the question that is kind of on someone's mind in the household, maybe from the time they wake up until dinner gets on the table, and it's mental drain, and you don't need
Right.
that. So being
Right.
prepared and being um, having everything ready for you. So have the ingredients on hand at the beginning of the week. So whenever
Mhm.
you shop, using a
Mhm.
meal planning app helps. I love to use an app called Plan to Eat. It's a way to store my recipes. It's a way to create menu plans. It's a way to create shopping lists all in the same place. And I can use it on my
Huh.
phone if I'm in the store. I'm still a paper person. I print it out and I have the list in front of me because I just prefer that. But you can have it on your phone. You can check things off as you go through the store. Like it is really, really helpful, a helpful
Mhm.
tool, even for someone who, like me, is really, really comfortable with all of the
Right.
things around cooking. I absolutely love it.
Right.
So, but having everything ready for you so that you're not hitting 5, whatever time o'clock at night it is, and you go, okay, now I gotta go to the grocery store and go get the ingredients to make a meal. That adds on another 45 minutes to an hour or whatever
Mhm.
time, and it just feels like a drag. Like, nobody wants to do that. I don't wanna do that, and at that point, what am I doing if I don't have the food in my house? I'm
Uh-huh.
ordering out. So, like, being prepared will help you.
Yeah, and this is totally where I see myself falling, like, the whole planning concept is, like had a conversation with my mother-in-law over the holidays. It was breakfast time, and she was inquiring about what we wanted to have for dinner, and I'm like, "I don't know, I'm eating breakfast. How do I know what I'm gonna wanna eat for dinner?" So, like, planning ahead like that, like, do you see why I wanted to have you join us? Because it's, like, such a foreign concept to me. Anyway, let me not, like, interrupt. Carry on.
No, no, and it's funny, I totally get that. Like, I am from the school of I'm eating a meal and I'm already thinking about my next one. Like, what am I eating? What am I doing? And especially if I'm traveling and I get to like experience different types of foods,
Uh-huh.
that's really exciting to me. But I do get the other side where it's like, I don't know, it's the weekend. How am I gonna know what I want to eat on Wednesday? Like, how could I possibly plan that? But if you have some go-to recipes that
Right.
serve you and your family or whoever you're cooking for well in terms of everybody likes it, it's something everybody will eat, then those are the
Mhm.
things that I'm just building into the week. And maybe I buy the ingredients and I don't know if I'm cooking it on a Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, but I have
Right.
the ingredients in the house. So I feel like, okay, Tuesday, oh, I don't feel like the ground beef. I really feel like chicken that day. So I
Mhm.
can mix and match my weekly meals. It doesn't mean that I'm sticking to that schedule, but I have the
Mhm.
ingredients on hand to make what I need for at least a few
Right.
days,
Right.
right? Prepping 1 or 2 things in advance is a huge time saver. I am not a meal prep person in terms of I'm gonna sit in my home on a Sunday cooking all of my meals for the week. Like, that's not what I'm doing, and that's not necessarily what I promote unless that works well for you. I would say if you want to think about meal prepping and you don't wanna be overwhelmed, pick 1 or 2 things and maybe just start with 1 and cook that in advance and get your grains cooked for the week. Um, you can make rice in a big batch and you
Mhm.
can actually freeze it in portions. So
Hmm.
having that done for you is really nice,
Okay.
especially if you are not using a, let's see, I use a rice cooker. White rice takes no time. Brown rice takes forever. If I have like gotten to dinner time and I'm like, oh shoot, I need oh, I want brown rice with this. That's pushing me either my dinner time out or I have to have thought about it in advance. So having all of that done
Yep.
before you even get to dinner time is so nice.
Right.
Roasting veggies and having them in the fridge ready to go, cooking a protein. And these things can be used multiple ways, mix and match.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
those are some of my hot tips for today.
I had no idea that you could cook rice and freeze it and it would still be delectable at the other end.
You can. I wouldn't do that with pasta, but rice
No.
and like a farro or a barley or that kind of thing
Okay.
freeze really well. Yeah.
Okay. Good to know. There's my
All
nugget
right.
for today.
There's your nugget, right? All you need is one nugget, and then you're like, yay, I
Hmm.
have something I can take with me and put into my daily practice. So,
Hmm.
people always ask me, what is your favorite spice? Out of all of the spices, there's so many I absolutely love, but smoked paprika, all time favorite. It adds so much flavor, so much delicious flavor, and it doesn't just it's not just one style, like, it's not just, like, Mexican food. It really spans a lot of different genres, so I really love
Hmm.
the flavor of smoked paprika. Not spicy at all. It does add a lot of color,
Hmm.
but smoked versus just, like, the basic sweet paprika is gonna give you a lot more flavor than just the color that you get from the sweet paprika. So I like to have smoked paprika, garlic powder, and chili powder on hand because I really feel like the combination of those three makes a great seasoning for meat and roasted vegetables. If you were just using salt and pepper, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you want to add a little bit to it,
Sure.
smoked paprika is a great one. A lot of people don't like to have the individual spices, thinking that the spice blends are better because you don't have the little containers of everything. Um, and I get that for convenience, totally fine, but I personally like to have the individual ones, and I like to mix and match as I see fit. I also do a lot of cooking. What I would caution you against if you're doing the spice blends is I would caution you against the seasoning packets, the ones that are like in the Mexican food section where you have a packet of stuff because there's other stuff in there that you don't want to be eating.
Hmm.
So if you were in the spice aisle and you saw a blend that you really liked and you think you're going to use it a lot, that's fine. If it's pure, if it's all just the spices and not a lot of the preservatives and chemicals that are in the packets.
Sure. Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah. Combining equal parts of the smoked paprika, the garlic powder, the chili powder, adding in some cumin, ground cumin, salt, and cracked black pepper. That will make your own taco seasoning.
Huh. Who
Okay.
knew?
Right. So, and having your own taco seasoning, I don't know. I like that seems to be like a crowd pleaser in a lot of households. And I have to tell you, if you're feeding picky eaters, making a taco bar where everything is separate, all the components, and somebody can make their own dinner out of whatever they want. So you have the rice you cooked, you have the ground meat cooked, and that could be your preference, beef, chicken, turkey, whatever you want, seasoned with this taco seasoning. And maybe you have some picky eaters and maybe you just wanna have some kind of just plain for them too, and then
Mhm.
some spiced, you can do that. Uh, my younger daughter really loves, like, frozen corn. So, a little weird for, like, a taco, but she likes the frozen corn in hers, and then shred up some lettuce, and then you have some chopped tomatoes, or you just have the salsa, shredded cheese, like, it's very and then you have the taco shells, and who likes the hard ones, and who likes the soft ones, like, there's so many variables. And then someone can make a taco, they can make a burrito bowl, they can make a burrito, they can make a quesadilla, like, it's just perfect for, like, the picky household.
Yeah. I like it.
Yeah, so another hot tip for the day. Alright, so here's where I'm gonna talk about kind of, like, making one thing and mixing and matching. So if you make a batch of ground meat, ground turkey, ground beef, season with that taco seasoning, you can use it in multiple ways. In these are just 4 examples, but if you take that ground meat and you wanna make a salad bowl, you would use a combination of what I have here plus anything else you'd want, but, like,
Mhm.
you start with lettuce, and then you have your ground meat, I'm a big fan of ground turkey. I just feel like it's lighter than ground beef, but if you're a ground beef lover, there's nothing wrong with using ground beef for this. These are just examples, but lettuce, ground turkey, some tomatoes, avocado. I like plain Greek yogurt as the creamy component. But if you liked sour cream or if you liked a creamy salad dressing, go for it.
Mhm.
Grain bowl, using your rice and quinoa as a base, then your ground turkey, salsa, avocado, red onion, Greek yogurt. You kind of get the idea of where I'm
Right.
going. Sweet potato bowl. Maybe you haven't thought about this one. Sweet potatoes are a great nutritional source of all sorts of vitamins and minerals and really good fiber as a base for a dish. So, sweet potato, then the ground turkey, and you layer it that way. And
Mhm.
then the fan favorite of nachos, layering tortilla chips with ground turkey. And then I would do the turkey and the cheese, and I would get that melted, and then you can put all the cold components on it.
Right.
So here's where you can take a couple of pounds of ground meat, depending on how many people you're feeding during the week. And when I say week, it can just be a couple of days. It doesn't need to be the 5 Monday through
Sure.
Friday days. Um, and get that just done in the beginning of the
Mhm.
week, and then have the other ingredients on hand, and people can do what they want. And you
Mhm.
can do what you want. So
Sure.
that is my hot tip there. That is what I have to share
That's awesome.
for this portion. I can't wait to get into the kid portion. I did touch on some of the things, but if
Sure.
people want to reach me, I am at theeffortlesskitchen.com. And I'm
Mhm.
also on Instagram as the Effortless Kitchen by Debbie. But if you go to my website and you're new to the website, you will have a pop up show up for a free recipe and recorded class.
Awesome.
Spoiler alert, it's for my uh, what is it called? My potato leek soup with grilled cheese croutons. So
Ooh.
it's an easy dish to make. It's also a fan favorite of kids and adults alike. So definitely something you can put into your repertoire and kind of see what I'm about.
Awesome. And then because I fall into this category, I know we talked about this when you and I first met. I know that you're totally able to help folks modify things. Like I'm vegetarian and my husband is not. And so like some of the things that you were talking about, some would classify us as the picky eater family. In
Yeah.
some ways, in that, he already does, like you were saying, portion out some of the meat without spices for the people who don't like it, and then have
Hmm.
the meat with the spices. He already does that. Like when, if he's making pasta sauce and he wants to have meatballs in his sauce, I'm clearly not going to have ground turkey meatballs. I might have like the fake and bacon meatballs,
Right.
But I know
Right.
that you had said that you're really comfortable sharing with folks like, well, hey, here's a way that you can modify it if you have somebody who is vegetarian or who's not, or somebody who's gluten free or who's not, just getting a little bit creative about it. So I like the
Yeah.
concept of potato leek soup. I might have to go check that out. So
Yeah, and it's actually there's no cream in it. People are always like, "Oh, it's so creamy. Is there cream in it?" There's no cream in it. It is literally water, potatoes, leeks, and seasoning. Like it is, and it's easy in terms of you don't have to be a good cook or know how to cook to get it done because there's not a lot of skill involved in terms of knowing how to cut things. People get really scared about that. It's easy. And if you can make a grilled cheese sandwich, you can make the croutons. It's basically a grilled cheese sandwich with it's cut up into small pieces. So something really, really approachable. I can't figure out how to get back to you, so I'm just gonna sit here like this.
oh, and I didn't realize that my mic was muted along the way. Gotta love live
Oh,
recordings,
here
right?
I am. I found you.
Here we
Okay.
are. So awesome. I'm sure that folks who are listening in or who catch the replay are going to get some really good insight out of this. And for folks who are not yet part of the Parent Tween Village, you want to check it out at parenttweenconnection.com/Parent Tween Village, because Debbie and I are about to pop over there to have a conversation about how to get your kids into the kitchen more, how to cook with them in the kitchen. And one of the things that I'm most excited about is that doing activities that are often side by side like that, whether it's cooking or hiking or sitting on the front porch painting toenails, are phenomenal opportunities for connection with your kiddos. So if you're not yet a member of Parent Twin Village, check it out. Come on over. You'll be able to catch the replay if you're not there yet. But Debbie, thank you so much. Again, folks, check her out at www.theeffortlesskitchen.com.
Thank you.